once again bringing you coverage of the Aegis with a win here in this best of 3 today.
Yeah, and it's going to be pretty exciting tidings as these teams are both coming in 1-0, so they definitely already have some wind behind their sails. And if they end up taking the dub here, they go through onto the Swiss stage. They get to not worry about any more seeded matches, and it's just where do teams' performances lie. And they also get a nice boost coming into Swiss since they do keep their record at 2-0. So it is a pretty exciting game that should transition very well for the future of their Aegis League season.
So Apex Predators, again, this is a squad that played as the Fantastic Five back during the first open qualifier of the year, the only open qualifier of the year for the NACL. They placed in the top 16, although they've brought in Psycho to play in the AD carry role, Azog moving up to coach this team. And Next Level Esports, Fiji, Kitsuo, Toothbooth, Sagewabe, Al Calamity, the Gravity bot lane. You have a really strong team here in terms of just what they bring to the table on paper when it comes to their solo queue ranks. That's why they were the tier 1 team going into this group. And the thing is, though, the thing about Next Level, they did drop one game to Bikini Bottom Warriors, showing that, again, this sort of tier 1 aura around them doesn't necessarily mean they'll plow through this group. And going up against Apex, who had a really strong showing against the Chain Vest Golden Guide, could mean that we could be in for a pretty tight series.
Yeah, and you'd expect it to be a little bit close. Both these teams coming hot off of a win, so they should have stuff, but I think they'll wait on that pick. So maybe just a top lane response here, unless they want to grab up something like a Karma or another strong laning pairing there.
So I'm seeing in chat right now. Oh, we have sounds now. Okay, good. All right. Well, that's good. So hello, everyone. Welcome. We had our intro. This is the Aegis Champions League. This is the Salt Mine. I'm Ferris. This is Golden Gad. We're bringing you coverage of Apex Predators versus Next Level Esports. Happy that you're all joining along in the party with us. It looks like on R2 here, the misband was Karma. Okay, so Karma Ezreal here for Sagewabe and Al Calamity. I'm going to tell you, Golden Gad, I like this for this bot lane. These two are very strong players. They've had that experience playing together. They had the recent reps with Gravity and the OQs. I want to see them take it to Psycho and Barlow and really try and, check them in this 2 versus 2. But playing something like the Mel, something that Psycho has played, I think is a smart counter answer by Apex to put him on something weak side. Then they can focus more into top side for Geiger, who is on this carry pick like the Jace.
Yeah, Mel slightly has fallen out of favor just a little bit, but still is one of those premier potentially bot lane flexes. You could still send it into the mid lane, not
Yeah.
as powerful as before, of course, but seeing that it is Ezreal Karma, I could really see this being a good option since you do get to neutralize some of the poke threat, especially, and then you lock it up with a Nautilus, something that can actually target an Ezreal in a team fight, make it a little bit more difficult for him to navigate those fights in general. I'm curious what next level will pick here. I imagine something to just match the Jace. You don't really want to let them just ban away all the counter picks here. So stuff like potentially like Gnar, even Poppy, maybe. Unfortunately, we get another mispick. No, we'll get word on what that is. As we move on forward for the rest of the bans, I can imagine stuff like Rise getting banned out now. Just as the prio drops down, I've been seeing more people play Orianna or Victor as well, but it's actually going to be a Gragas lock in on the top side there, I imagine, for next level esports. So we're seeing some Jace Gragas, which is like a super kind of classic, like neutralizing pick into the Jace. Makes it very difficult since you can get rid of that hammer slam action there.
I'm interested as to why they would index into something like Gragas. I know Fiji plays this champion a lot. It's something that Fiji's very comfortable on, but you normally see something like that into Jax, a Renekton, a melee top laner. And what I see right now from Apex's side, barring the Nautilus, who has to be that engaged, I'm seeing a lack of melee champions. I mean, Jace in the hammer form, I guess he won't really be able to go melee against the Gragas, and that might hinder him in later fights, but there's a lot of range, and it looks like Apex is kind of setting up for a poke composition here. So interesting how Fiji's going to have to operate around that extra range that Apex has drafted.
Yeah, we're seeing some more picks come through here, and I think a good call out there on them getting, gearing up for a kind of poke comp since they are banning stuff like the Xin Zhao, who's very good at breaking those kinds of
Yeah.
lines. So, yeah, and then there we seeing Aurelia get banned as well. Probably just another call out towards Meslo, of course. So makes a lot of sense. It would change the identity, and then Gragas potentially gets more value. But I think the whole point of the Gragas is just okay. You won't die in the side lane. We can just send you up there, match him the entire game, and not really have too many issues in that way, since Hammer forms most of the burst damage that could actually net you those solo kills. So we're seeing Jarvan, another thing that can kind of get past those lines. So you could really see that how they want to fight these team fights out. So I think it's a pretty interesting kind of bunker comp they've already established, and curious whether they'll what mid laner they're really going to pair with it. It could be something like a Victor, which I think could get isolated out, especially with something like a Vi now locked in as well. So now it makes it a little bit more tricky. I think I would just grab up Rise here, to be honest, if I was Meslo. Maybe not potentially in his champ pool, but something that seems pretty good here.
I'm thinking maybe Tristana would be a nice option for Meslo just because they need that AD. They do have Jace, but having the Mel, having the Cho'Gath, I mean, they're just going to go with the Cho'Gath mid. I didn't realize that until the Viego was hovered. So they're going to get that extra AD in the jungle for Cold Throw. Again, I want to state that I was very excited for this jungle matchup, and the Viego alongside the Vi, I mean, it's going to be a very aggressive game here for next level, and Kitswell going to try and make things happen early. That's what you have to do. You can do it pre-6, and then once you do get the cease and desist, all that playmaking potential is unlocked for you. But Cold Throw is taking this carry role for himself in this team. The Cho'Gath is interesting because this has been nerfed repeatedly, but I guess is still going to be quite strong. It'd be interesting to see how well Tooth Booth can shut down Meslo with the extra range he has. This also could potentially be a Jace mid. I'm totally forgetting about the fact that Jace could also go mid for Meslo as well, and this could be a Cho'Gath up into the Gragas. So a lot of different things to think about. I'm actually, now that I think about it, Golden God, I'm actually kind of fancying that option a little bit more in the different realities that we have going on.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but I'm fairly confident that'll also be that Cho'Gath towards the top side, since he also doesn't really care about the Gragas. He gets to pretty much free scale towards the late game, and yes, the poke isn't going to be as impactful as it previously was, but it doesn't really matter if you're stacking up ours, since that is definitely something that is pretty safe here. I like the Vi Syndra, a little bit of a different flavor on something like a Vi Ari. maybe does a little bit better into these more tanky champions compared to the Ari. So I could see that being something that they definitely are playing around. Their pick potential is pretty nasty, with the Vi Syndra, with a lot of damage that can come through on top of that. So they should be able to net some pretty good picks there. I'd be a little bit concerned about Vi getting isolated in some of these fights. But besides that, I think I like next level esports comp here, and I think Apex is really gonna have to use Viego like the linchpin he is.
It's going to be an exciting one. Again, Tier 1 and Tier 2 teams going up against each other here in Group E. The winner advances to the Swiss portion of this bracket, starting 2-0 on their way to try and get to 4 wins total to move on to a 16-team playoffs. That's what's at stake here in this best of 3 between these two. Game number 1, Apex Predators Next Level Esports, starts now. And I have to agree, there's potential for some really nice synergy, and that synergy is there for Next Level. They just have to make sure that they get those abilities, the CC, layered down correctly, because if a cease and desist goes wide, an explosive cast goes left, then everything could be in disarray. A Scatter the Weak is also rebutted by Psycho. There's a lot of ways where they're engaged, and the very small windows of opportunity that they have to get someone and find a pick get thwarted somehow, then it's going to be a big opportunity for Apex to counterattack.
Yeah, that's why I think it so heavily relies on how Kitsuo is actually going to play these fights out. You are the sole main target engage here, and there are things like Nautilus, there are things like Cho'Gath who do so well at kind of neutralizing people once they're actually in. They use those entry abilities. There's no way out. You really have to have your team right behind you. So this will be a pretty big test for them as their coordination, since they are also coming in as kind of favorites. You'd expect them to have that kind of, synergy.
We're seeing a real cutthroat top lane to start, as Geiger's actually going to hit level 2 first and find himself a nice trade, but it's double Doran's ring, so you can just see these two meat shields kind of champions just flapping each other here. They have a bunch of extra damage in the tank. I honestly expect to see some solo kills up here. I think it's going to happen with the way things are going in this lane. And also Sage Wabi Alkalim, I said at the start, I really like the Ezreal Karma. I want to see some magic happen. I think they got a really good matchup. You can see right there in that interaction, it's really hard to land the Nautilus hook when Ezreal has that arcane shift, and Sage Wabi with the teleport and the summoner spells can keep up with the pace that Psycho wants to set with the teleport that he's taken himself.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting game. I wouldn't expect anyone to get solo killed per se, except maybe the Cho'Gath finding one to Gragas. Just the extra healing off the minion wave is somehow more than what Gragas gets out of passive. So it's going to be a long, credulous journey. Obviously, Gragas already using both the pot and the biscuit already, so you can see how the Cho'Gath actually definitely does have a bit of an advantage in this match, just that max HP damage off of the E. So, we're seeing two sides of different coins. Obviously, the Karma Ezreal is going to have the advantage on the bot side, so we're probably going to lean towards a split map, especially considering where Kitsuo and Kolthro have already indexed towards so far.
Tesla taking a heavy trade on Duke for the Sage. Wabi's locked up with a whole lot of damage. Ignite goes down there from Barlow, getting aggressive. Is this Apex Predators bot lane, and they have to be careful. If you get caught by Mel's root and then a dredge line follows that up, you do still have to be careful if you're Sage Wabi. A lot of damage can be layered down, so good control being taken by the Apex Predators bot lane. And honestly, Geiger taking control of this top lane, I think it's just going to be something that maybe Fiji's going to have to deal with, because honestly, Cho'Gath passive is a little bit crazy. I'm going to be honest. I never really like playing against that, but we're going to take a look at what's happening bot side now. The Psycho has to flash, still gets rooted up. The rebuttal doesn't do a whole lot. Flashing forward, so many members. Sage Wabi gets first blood. Barlow is going to be up next. The Vault Breaker lands, and that's 2 to the Ezreal. A perfect start for Next Level Esports.
That's a questionable, walk up there from Psycho, just trying to cancel right back your Kolthro now. They're walking to 3. It's away with his life. But I will say, yeah, I think Psycho just wanted to greed out to kind of prevent Kitsuo from getting any tempo there. Just went for the recall, but didn't realize was in such big danger from the Karma route. Yeah, it just goes down like it's nothing.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely going to be probably kicking yourself a little bit there. Like, I can see the vision. You want to be annoying. You have long range on Mel, but that step too far forward ends up making them pay the price. And I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better start here if you are Next Level Esports. Your big carry, I said I want to see big things out of Sagewabi and Al Calamity. I want to see this guy pop off on the Ezreal. Getting an early lead is fantastic. Working towards that mid-game power spike. And mid-game is really where Next Level could take control of this one. So we'll see what the steps are to try and bounce back from Apex's side. You can see Colthrow and Barlow right now linking up and actually looking to try and make a long flank around here. Sagewabi doesn't have the flash. I think he knows. He's saying, Calamity, we got company here. I'm trying to get out of here right now. He's able to get to safety to the tower, but I don't think the Karma's going to be so lucky. And Al Calamity is in a calamity himself, stuck inside of the alcove. 3 people converging on his location. They'll give the kill to Psycho. Nice play from Colthrow and Barlow to link up and get one back for themselves.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if this will net them Drake. It looks like, you know, Kitsuo will go for it and just allow it to be dropped, or, you know, and just take it the top side as a trade here. Cho'Gath is stepping around the grubs just to make sure they aren't trading the objective for the objective. But Vi's actually going for a little bit more of a greedy route, especially since Gragas had to go for that back earlier. So it's actually a pretty interesting game state where they have to give Drake, but there is no response from the side of Next Level Esports. So this is just a net positive play there for Apex.
And you can see the trade, or at least the attempted trade from Kitsuo, is on the other side, taking those camps. Now going to move to the grubs. And it was Colthrow spotted out by Al Calamity, moving through the jungle, making sure that this Viego isn't having the easiest of time trying to steal camps. But if you can see on the minimap, they keep pinging onto him. He's trying to get through to take camps away, but he knows he's on vision. He knows it's probably wise to step back. Okay, fine, I'll give over the wolves, and oh man, Meslo, the quick flash, ends up finding the solo kill, surprising Toothboot. That will be the second of the game for Apex Predators. And their mid laner, 10 CS ahead, now a kill in his pocket. This Jace is unleashed.
As soon as I saw those minions get really low, I was like, oh, this is a solo kill. No, Toothboot just walked up to the lane for fun. Gets taken down as the Syndra, which is a more fragile pick early on. So the Jace really exploiting that fact. And Meslo showing some of that, you know, super big prevalence on finding solo kills and stuff like that. That is what he's kind of known for, is that laning prowess. So, you know, pretty interesting so far, since, you know, the game isn't really as slow as I would have imagined early on, but we're seeing quite a bit of action just across the entire map.
Been a couple plays back and forth. Right now, Barlow's waiting around this mid lane. So is Al Calamity. Toothbooth does not have flash. Again, he used the flash and still ended up getting solo killed. Meslo had to use one of his own, but that makes this Syndra very vulnerable, and you can see Barlow is just waiting for the right opportunity to try and step up, and one dredge line and she's gone. And again, gold going on to the Jace is going to be something that Apex Predators definitely want here. The Viego, the Jace, these two are the focal point of this team. They have the Mel, who's going to weak side, do her own thing, trade out the farm with the Ezreal. The Nautilus can move. She should be okay. But if the gold is on these two, the mid-jungle, that's where they can really unlock their playmaking potential.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when your comp has one of your main aspects coming from the Mel. Since I feel like Nautilus is going to play playing a bit more keep away than normal rather than the full engage style. So definitely going to have to see if they're able to link up there and find the Viego resets as soon as possible, since there's some pretty great targets on, you know, pretty much all the members from Next Level. They're even like stuff like Karma is not even that bad as a Viego target, since you get the CC, and I'm pretty sure that the W there from Karma actually persists through the R. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like I've seen that before. We'll have to see.
We'll see. I won't hold it against you as Dredgeline connects for Barlow there. Good amount of damage lands, but again, he's going to take a little bit back himself. Mystic shots and Qs there from the Karma. But honestly, this lane has been neutralized very well here. You can see Sagewabi trying his best to get some damage down, but after those early plays, even after what we thought was a disaster here, that play that Colthrow and Barlow made really made this lane not as bad for the side of Apex Predators. That control ward is going to spot out Kitsuo, so they'll know where the Vi is. Meslo kind of hanging around in the area, making sure no dive is going to happen. Does have TP. He's going to get hit by the cease and desist now. Toothboot trying to follow it up with the Scatter the Weak. It will not connect, and Meslo with the phase rush. Just going to walk on out and just say, nice try, bro, but not today.
Yeah, the Q going wide there from Kitsuo really was a big detriment there, not able to find Meslo and really slow him down to be able to have the Syndra catch up. Pretty big missed opportunity, since Meslo still having no flash. Definitely could have been very solid pick there. But yeah, I mean, I think with no Vi engage coming up for this Drake, that should be a little bit more difficult. I think Cease and Desist might come up, but you won't have that Vi flash to kind of close the distance on this keep away comp that Apex has. So it's going to be pretty hard for Vi to find something. So I'm actually considering maybe next level just goes for a cross map here instead of going straight for this Drake, since also Meslo having such a big advantage in mid could definitely be pretty scary going for that fight.
First item spike as well. Luden's Companion is done for Psycho. And so a lot of power is here in this bot side. You can see Colthrow kind of hanging around this area. We got 40 seconds to go on that Drake that you were alluding to. We'll see what Kitsuo's pathing ends up being, because the Grubs are also going to be alive here before the Drake. But Kitsuo is headed bot side, whether he doesn't have any camps up either. So this screams to me that they're planning on going for this Drake. They have the priority in the bot side. They're setting up around it, and, well, Apex is going to be the ones that end up going for the Grubs there. It won't be the 6 for themselves. It will be the 4, however, though, as the Grubs were actually, the first 3 Grubs actually were somehow split. Actually, now we're seeing, yeah, I'm not really sure how that actually ended up going down. It seems as if Kitsuo didn't end up grabbing all 3 in the first one, so that will be 4, and it looks like it'll be the trade. Again, Kitsuo hanging in the area in the bot side, maybe looking for a dive.
I think Geiger might have just walked up and ate them, if I'm
That's
remembering
true.
correctly.
It is a Cho'Gath.
Yeah. Which, you know, is unavoidable when you are playing Vi. You really can't get through the Cho'Gath HP bar, so I think that might have been what happened. Now Viego looking for a gank mid on Toothbooth.
Toothbooth does have a flash. He's going to dodge away from the Spectral Maw. It should be okay. Just trying to make something happen there after that play. You like to see the Viego getting proactive. Hasn't really had the most opportunities to do a whole lot. Again, had the one play bot side that was successful there for Apex Predators. You had the solo kill for Meslo, which the Viego wasn't really involved in. So other than that, not a whole lot of stuff for Colthrow to be able to do. As they're going for part 2, they're looking for Meslo, who this time is going to get away from the Scatter of the Week with his flash, and it will be 0 for 2 on the ganks mid there for Next Level Esports.
Yeah, it also looked like there was a bit of miscommunication there. Colthrow probably really wanted that fight, but Meslo not in range to actually get slow down as Real going to shift away.
Oh, wow. Sagawabi actually aggressively shifting forwards, and this might just mean Barlow goes down. He has to flash away from the True Shot Barrage, and now Psycho dumping a whole lot of damage into Al Calamity, who has to burn the heal to keep their HP bars at a nice and healthy state. We do see the Golden Eclipse go down, and that's the kill that goes onto Al Calamity. On the other side, we see a kill. It's Colthrow that's able to knock down Kitsuo as Psycho forces the flash off of Sage Wabe as well. Apex Predators all across the map are making things happen.
Yeah, they find the pick in the deep jungle with some good awareness that Vi had to commit the time on the bot side, so definitely was going to go towards the top side on the reset. So finds that, and then a nice 2v2 kill there from Psycho and Barlow, and it just felt kind of desperate from Sagewabe and Al Calamity. Like, I don't know if you have to go for that fight, especially since the Mel still had the ult there. Could really do a lot of damage. So as soon as Barlow doesn't go down, I mean, you should just be in full retreat.
It's going to be huge plays for Apex Predators, taking themselves into a really nice spot at this 13-minute mark, as right when they get their momentum, we get ourselves a pause. But at the very least, we get a break in the action, can talk about what's gone down now. We're even at Drake's, we're almost even at the Grubs. It's 4-2 here for Apex. Another thing that they can add to their resume of things going well for them so far in this early game. They got the kills right where they wanted. That's a beautiful scoreline to look at. Kill on the Viego, kill on the Jace. They're also farming quite well. Psycho, with left to his own devices, essentially. One gank to his name. The 2v2s have been going well for the Mel and the Nautilus. And now the pressure's on here, Golden God, for NLE. They got to make some things happen. They got to start making some plays. They better hope that they don't get outscaled here and they're able to get back on their feet, because, again, the scaling is another issue that they might run into later on.
Yeah, definitely. That's where the Viego and the Mel are really going to have to come in and find that big pick potential to really layer it down on to Next Level Esports. I'm not entirely sure what's happening with the play will resume in 0. It's obviously not resumed, so we're going to have to see if there's anything wrong with that. Okay, we're in. So luckily, no shenanigans here from Riot Games for us. Very fortunate, as loves to happen, especially on broadcast. So here we're seeing a couple resets. I'm curious to see what Cho'Gath's stack count is at. Just since if he took a Might and doesn't have any other kills, should just be that extra 1. for the tracker, of course. Oh, pretty nice interaction there with the W there on the Calamity from Mel. Just to make sure you don't take any of that poke damage. There is no objectives coming up, so it's not entirely crucial you deny all that damage, but still something pretty nice.
Very dangerous of you, Golden God. You said Riot Games hasn't broken on us yet. You said it out loud. Now things are bound to start malfunctioning here, but we'll keep our hopes high. As well, right now things aren't going too hot for the side of Apex Predators. Barlow's getting very low. The rebuttal of True Shot Barrage is going to rain through. His teleport's coming on in for the blue side, and that's Geiger's Cho'Gath, and the rest of the cavalry is just convoluting onto the location of the side of NLE. It's going to be a 2-for-1 shutdown on Sage Wabi. He's going to go over to Meslo, lands the Shock Blast onto Toothboot, and Apex Predators, once again, they push back the opposition.
Yeah, they make the snap decision call to go for the play with the deep ward instead of just backing away and allowing this Vi to get 0 value. Gragas will have some time alone on that top lane turret since no TP will be committed, but that's a Gragas versus a Cho'Gath, and a Mel going to be able to grab up this first tower. Obviously, they don't really have to worry about, you know, feats of warfare since they already claimed those in this one, so... You know, Apex already playing towards it, and Barlow's in a good position onto Fiji. Does have flash, but Meslo does a lot of damage. I'd be pretty careful here if I'm Fiji. I think you're just dead.
Yeah, I think he's dead as well. Fiji, I mean, you don't got the phase rush. This is not the... He actually gets a good amount of damage onto Meslo, but this is not the Bounce FFS Gragas that just runs around at 12 million light years per hour, and he actually almost gets Meslo, which is crazy, but we're seeing another fight here inside of the river. Calamity almost drops to the Golden Eclipse. Kitsuo is on the run as well. Cold Throw and Psycho forcing the side of NLE out of their jungle. They get themselves another kill, 3,000 gold at 15.5 minutes here, Golden Gad. This Apex Predators team, for being, I guess we could say, the on paper sort of underdogs here, they're playing a fantastic game of League right now.
Yeah, and because they forced the Karma out of the jungle, they have the vision control on the top side where the Rift Herald is spawning. So even if they don't go towards that south, they'll have perfect information for what next level is actually planning for. So that's definitely a great sign. You already have Geiger on the bot side here. Doesn't have the TP, so it's good that they are making those lane commitments. Meslo in the mid lane, so they are definitely going to try and look for a fight here. Barlow maybe just snap engages on Kitsuo here in just a second.
Oh, well, they're going onto the Nautilus. I don't know if this is the right target, guys. You're going to get completely annihilated. They got a teleport coming in, but this might just be the teleport of death. As, okay, the Gragas is going to use his quick feet and jump on out of there. That's what I was worried about going into this game. Great rebuttal from Psycho. Just sends the cask right back towards Fiji. That was fantastic right now. It feels like Apex Predators, they're in their bag. They're in their groove. They can't do any wrong on the Rift right now.
Yeah, they're doing a great job there. I'm not too sure if Kitsuo just didn't have the vision or they just thought they outnumbered in that scenario, but I think they got a little bit juked out by Meslo just joining immediately rather than TPing into that fight. And yeah, just gonna go down there pretty easily, and Apex is making a show of it. I think they pretty much have had tempo ever since that initial 2v2 fail on the bot side, so I'd say they're doing a great job in this one, and they're looking to take this first game. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, honestly, this is looking really, really good for Apex Predators. I like their odds the later the game goes. I think unless there is some colossal turbo throwing, some chain inting, some shenanigans that go down, this game is looking quite good. You're almost at your item spike for Jace. They're moving on to 2 items for your Viego. They can still look for a play on that Rift Herald. A lot of standing gold still on the map. They've yet to knock down the tier 1s in the top and mid lane. So maybe opportunities around those sieges for the defense to come through for NLE and to try and get something back for themselves. But even these side lanes, I mean, what is Toothbooth going to do against the Cho'Gath? Look at that damage. That was nothing. It tickled him.
Yeah, the Cho'Gath's definitely going to be a menace, but I will say, Ferris, our casting duo is no stranger to disgusting games. So let's just hope we're comfy here in Aegis, where people will be playing properly. As Kitsuo now to the top lane. Fiji's
Meslo's going to be in a very interesting position. Good flash away from the Vault Breaker as Calamity's in a 1v1 against Cold Throw. We got teleports coming in. I thought we were going to get a whole brawl here. Golden God, I was clenching my fists and getting ready. I don't know why I'd be clenching my fist during a play-by-play. I was getting prepared physically for a fight, and yeah, well, we didn't get that. We got the force away there from NLE. They're going to be forced to walk out of their jungle, looking for maybe a play on a Psycho in the mid lane as Kitsuo is going to make that engage. The rebuttal is going to go down. It might not be enough. Flash away, but the Mystic Shot will land. And Psycho, or Sagewabe rather, Psycho will fall. Sagewabe gets the kill, +1 back at least over to NLE.
Yeah, does a great job there finding at least a pick on the other side. Diego will be able to claim out the Rift Herald here, so there's some easy standing gold for them to recoup some of that gold lost in that scenario. And Geiger getting another turret. This Cho'Gath is physically and metaphorically huge in this one, since you do have so much extra gold over this Gragas, and it's just going to be more difficult for Fiji as it goes on. Barlow finds Kitsuo.
Oh,
disconnect there.
Yeah, dude, Kitsuo, this is not the place you want to be. Great knockback there by Meso to bring it back, and Barlow flashes to cancel the Vault Breaker. That was really nice, but he just doesn't die because Toothbooth has joined the party. Kitsuo is unkillable on this Vi. He finally goes down, but not before the rest of the reinforcements arrive for NLE. Could this be the throw right here for Apex? The Golden Eclipse goes down, but Toothbooth tanks it. 2 kills to Sagewabe, and Kitsuo says, thanks, guys, it was all a bait.
Yeah, the Sundered Sky out of nowhere just finds a good, huge value here. Cold Throw, though. Finds Toothbooth recall in shopping, definitely.
Wait, did we not? I guess so, because I think for sure you would see that mist and you'd run for the hills. I guess Toothbooth was like, if my time has come, man, my time has come.
Nah, you know, you sometimes you just want to pre-order your item on Amazon as soon as you hear about it, so definitely a little bit of an express delivery there from Toothbooth. Not toothbrush.
Yeah, not. Yeah, no. Tooth booth, the booth with tooths. Whatever that is, interpret it how you will. That is what it is, and well, yeah, he gets back to base. He now has that Cosmic Drive completed. This is the Syndra build. It's not the Luden's Companion. It's the Blackfire Torch. It's the Cosmic Drive. It's all the ability haste. Now has those 2 items. The burst potential, maybe not as much there, but definitely be able to pump out those spells a whole lot faster. And still, despite that, I definitely do favor the position that Apex are in this game. They summon up the Herald. They're looking for this tier 1, although going on NLE promptly here for the defense. We do see a good scatter there. Is going to connect on the Cold Throw Spectral Maw to get away. Tense situations here around the mid lane. A lot of that gold overloaded onto Sagewabe. He needs to be the main guy here for NLE.
Yeah, I'm just so curious who the hell is going to kill this Cho'Gath. I really just don't see it, especially with this more ability haste kind of pick potential focused build from the Syndra. Like this dinosaur is gonna reign supreme, I think. Doesn't really have to worry about too much going forward. And they've already zoned out this entire... Look at their vision line. I know it's a little bit neutralized by that control ward in that bush, but still, this is an impenetrable fortress, and mostly due to just that Cho'Gath just walking around, doing the Mundo thing of doing as he pleases.
Yeah, he's not playing Mundo, but he's playing Cho'Gath. Well, Fiji, you just body slammed yourself into immediate death, and that True Shot Barrage is going to be sent right back at their faces. This will be tier 1 going down. I really don't like this fight take here from the side of NLE. It's 5 versus 4, and Barlow finds the Dredgeland from downtown to lockdown. Al Calamity on this Karma gives 2 over to the side of Apex Predators, and now they're looking at getting themselves onto Soul Point.
Yeah, just going to grab up this Soul Point. No real questions asked by NLE. They said, hey, you want a Gragas? Here's a Gragas. You want a team fight? Here's a team fight. And they also were going to get the dragon as a nice dessert on top. And Apex is doing a great job here. But yeah, the Cho'Gath with the Warmogs especially, just going to be joining the fight. Not going to have to prioritize the side lane since Gragas is really not a side lane threat. He takes tower so extremely slowly, only relying really on that Demolish proc. So, you know, in reality, I think NLE without finding Ezreal or Syndra with a pretty big lead, has kind of gotten choked out of this one.
And what they really needed was they wanted to get things going early. They wanted to make plays with the Vi, move around the map with the Syndra, find scatters. They wanted Ezreal and Karma to come out ahead in lane. These things just have not come to fruition. Again, It's going to have to be a big performance from Sagewabi as well. Geiger's on the flank. He's got a whole lot of people corralling him. Toothbooth has to flash away, but he's just getting smoked by the Cho'Gath right now. He is getting low, but there's going to be the reset for Coulthro. He's going to transform into the Cinder-handed huge scatter, and that's going to be a cease and desist. It's going to go down onto him, but Sagewabi's on the kill. Huge root from Psycho. The Golden Eclipse goes down, but Sagewabi is still hitting on the backside. The Mystic shots are going to rain true, but not true enough because the rebuttal's going to send it right back towards him. Psycho is popping off in this team fight. Fiji's the only one left. He does do a good amount of damage, and the Otacon's going to help out as well. Now we got a 2 versus 1. Barlow jumps back in. Fiji is trying to find the space to do the damage, but Psycho and Barlow are going to push him back. And honestly, for NLE Golden Gad, not the worst fight you could have possibly asked for, as Psycho is going to spot the Gragas, who's going to flash on him forward with the body slam and finish off the kill and claim that shutdown. 4 for 4. The Otacon will remain on the map.
Yeah, didn't have the rebuttal for that last little engage there, but a pretty interesting fight there. I feel like Meslo and Coulthro got a little bit too, too far forward too quickly. The damage from the Mel wasn't really in, and you really want to rely on that kind of damage to get those resets for the Viego. And also the percent max HP execute from the Syndra, taking Cho'Gath out from like, it looked like 1,500 HP just from the percentage there, just ticking over. So, there's at least one way to do it. You got to have your Cho'Gath 1v5 to start the fight.
That was definitely, if people were more in position to punish when Geiger was right there in the mix of things, it might have gone a little bit better for the Apex Predators, but not going to be the case. NLE's going to be able to take that fight. They got 3 items now on their Ezreal. This point in the game, 25 minutes, this is where he kind of peaks. He's going to start to fall off as the game goes on, so this is really where Sagewabi needs to maximize his DPS, maximize his gliding and his cooldowns, give himself some good fights to get the rest of his team into a spot they want to be. I want to say as well, Fiji with another great fight, spacing quite well, doing a good amount of damage, finding the shutdown onto this Mel. Now level 16. We've been kind of sleeping on this Gragas a little bit, I think for good reason. I think Geiger's played a good game. We haven't seen a lot, but maybe it's time as well for Fiji to start making plays, and maybe for NLE to get themselves back into this one, as Kitsuo still fishing for some plays. He's going to jump once again onto the Nautilus, but now the team is with him. But it's just not going to matter. He falls. Sagewabi has to use the Arcane Shift to escape. The Explosive Cast is used. And I don't know, these engages just really aren't going his way, but there's going to be a nice pick from Toothbooth. Finds the Scattered Weak, gets the Unleashed Power. It will be 1 for 1.
Yeah, it will be 1 for 1, man. I feel like, NLE, a little bit of desperation. They're going for a similar play as before, not expecting Meslo to be in the area again, and just finds yourself with no jungler with the Otacon up. So that's a pretty scary situation here, and it is going to be Voracious from what I saw earlier. So yeah, they're going to have that 150-second respawn timer if this fight doesn't happen before the Otacon goes down, since the Cho'Gath has the ult to actually secure this. Yeah. Should be no shenanigans.
They're definitely banking on that. They're definitely banking on the Devourer to come through, as they're trying to get it low enough, and Geiger takes it. It is not going to be secured by the side of NLE. The Heartbreaker is going to miss, though. The Golden Eclipse goes down, and Fiji just tanks absolutely everything thrown his way. And now the Arcane Shift forward. Sagewabi, that was way too aggressive, my friend. He's going to fall. That's going to kill all momentum that NLE had in that team fight. And the Predators, they only lose 1.
Yeah, they only lose 1, and it's on top of that, it's just the Otacon, so it's not even that big of a deal. They're going to be able to translate this into a pretty big bot lane push here. You're seeing some resets come through. They won't stick around for it, but they do have TPs to kind of try and force something on the Baron here for the next 150 seconds. And I expect that to be the play here. Coulthro is on this bot side. Going to be looking for a combo play with Barlow here. But, maybe they just translate this into Soul, actually. I didn't even realize the timer. They got 12 seconds on it, so they're going to TP towards mid, and they want the fight onto Fiji.
Psycho's just teleporting into everyone. Fiji, nice dodge away from the dredge line. Spectral Maw goes wide as well, but it's control over the rivers. We see teleport in here from Sagewabi, and Geiger is just going to meet him there. Actually, it's a double TP. Geiger's been gifted 2 carries directly on top of his face. Barlow's taking up in the front line right now. The depth charge is going to land onto 2. Into the back line goes Coulthro, but he doesn't find that reset just yet. Now he will finally get it for himself. Kitsuo is in the ringer in the backside too. Go down for the side of NLE. Geiger, Meslo, Psycho, the back line here for the side of Apex Predators remain, or at least 2/3 of that backline. 2 parts of it, as Geiger is alive. The fight is won, and it looks like Soul is going to be claimed here unless some magic can happen from Sage, Wabe, and Fiji. They're going to try and get into the pit. Geiger does not have the ultimate here. Golden Eclipse goes down. Psycho doing a fantastic job at keeping the opposition at bay. And Soul goes to the Predators.
Yeah, Predators making a good case there. They definitely wanted the initial pick onto Fiji, weren't able to find it, so at least something a little bit good on their side. I'm going to root up here, stall Fiji's tempo just a little bit, and you're seeing how these team fights kind of come into fruition. You know, Gragas has to play keep away for this Ezreal, but at some point, one of these carries will slip through the cracks, and you saw there Toothboot getting taken down extremely low immediately, Viego coming in with the follow-through, and, you know, since it's such a split fight, Ezreal has to dedicate the time away from the main bit of the fight to actually secure the kill on the Viego. So in that scenario, they're just getting slapped around in the front line. So they definitely have to find pretty much a perfect scenario where they get the pick immediately and back off. But that, you know, Apex hasn't really given them that opportunity, and now they're going to turn their attention toward the Baron. There is a little bit of an inkling that this is going on. Obviously, the TP comes in. This should be unlosable. You know, you got the 2K from the Jogath, so let's see.
Yeah, should be is the key word. They're not going to risk it, though. They're going to look for the fight. Good shift there from Sage Wabi to get over the wall. Good disengage from NLE. Honestly, they do have the ultimate, but it's like, I don't know, man. I'm not flipping the Baron like this. They're saying that, too. We're not taking that risk, as Toothbooth has found a whole lot of people. Scatter the Weak is going to bring them back. They decide to look for the siege in the mid lane. This has been, you know what? There's been a lot of ARAMing happening in this game. I've just realized we've been around this area for quite some time. It's been a little bit of an ARAM, as flanks being attempted by Kitsuo and gang, but good coverage here from Colthrow, sweeping out the vision, moving back towards his team. And I will say as well, the Cloud Soul, well, it's not doing a whole lot for them, but that Rupture definitely will, and that will be Jungler down. Easy as that. Look at that from Geiger, but now the re-engage is in. Colthrow might just go down himself. Sage Wabi, fade away, auto attack, grabs the kill. Good CC, good lockdown from NLE. They get one back. It's 1-for-1. Hook is going to connect, but Great Scatter the Weak is going to bring them both back to food. Able to stay alive. Sage Wabi hitting from the wings, and the disengage goes in. Yet again, another stalemate.
Yeah, both junglers going down, so no big play happening just yet. Fiji obviously has some good opportunity to just kite out for these carries for the rest of this fight, especially with the Viego dead. You don't have to really play as much protection since there's a lot more long-range damage that can come through. But yeah, Geiger, you know, just playing around this Warmogs, just soaking up as much damage as possible here, but the mid lane turret will go down. To be able to be protected by the two-member core here. Apex.
Fiji's quite tanky. He's kind of gotten to that point. He's got the... I don't even know if that item's called Abyssal Mask anymore. It looks like what formerly was Abyssal Mask. It gives you... Yeah, okay. It gives you magic resist, and he's got, you know, not a lot of damage is being taken by him there from Psycho, who does have the Bladed Jewel, so will have some penetration later on. But honestly, I feel like this mid-late portion of the game has been relatively solid from NLE. It hasn't been super clean from Apex Predators. They have not done a very good job of putting the pressure on. They weren't able to use the Voracious Otacon very well that they secured for themselves. They have not been able to capitalize on the pressure that they're forming in this around the Baron and the control that they have in the river. And it's giving more and more opportunities here for NLE to jump back in. And I remind you, 2.5 minutes, that Elder Drake is spawning. And that could be the moment for NLE to strike and really put themselves into a winning position.
Oh, big miss there on from Barlow. Very close actually to taking down All Calamity, which definitely is a big window that they could potentially look for. All Calamity now getting dangerously close, has to burn the flash. That's at least one target you can reliably get onto as these fights go forward. Yeah, you know, I will say, yeah, Apex, you know, letting some things slip through the cracks. Definitely not as solid of a game as we expected earlier. Barlow.
Oh, maybe he's able to find Barlow. He's at a vendetta for this Nautilus. He's constantly going for him, but once again, he's just going to fall. Give it up, Kitsubo. Oh, you can finally get him down. Okay, but it's going to be a 1-for-1. Psycho was compromised in the backside. Is going to use the flash. Golden Eclipse goes down, but Sage Wabi's found the kill. Next level Esports. They've got another. Only 2 to go. They're winning this fight. 4 versus 2 now. Geiger and Colthrow in retreat. The Scatter the Weak lands. Toothbooth has found the stun. Fiji in pursuit. Playing frontline for the Syndrome, making sure the Cho'Gath is kept at bay, and now Sage Wabi joins the party, takes him down. The damage is incredible from this Ezreal. 13, 3, and 3, and Golden God, next level Esports. They're on to the Baron.
Yeah, they find the dub there. after Barlow goes a bit far forward, but it's not really Barlow that's the focus. It's everyone else on the other side. Full throw here, trying to isolate out this jungler. Vi isn't up for the smite, so they have to try and keep him away. Trying to creep in, but with the Gragas alive, it's just too difficult to go for that play. He's going to stay alive, preserve himself for this Elder in 50 seconds. So definitely at least good. They do have lane pyro on that top and mid wave already for the side of Apex, so they're not coming in completely dry for this objective. Culthro's going to have to go for a bit of a back here, so not going to lose some of that tempo, but at least Nautilus is here to pick up some of that deep vision that they definitely require going forward. Cho'Gath, though, will have that flank ward on that backside if they do end up going for that kind of angle. So I'm curious to see how Apex is going to play this, because this is really the most pivotal moment of the game. This will determine who takes it, since they've really closed the gap now.
Control of the jungle here, getting super aggressive is NLE right now. They found Barlow, who wants to find himself an engage, but he just falls before anything can really happen. And now Fiji standing tall in the front line. Great Cask is going to buy some space, but he just gets nuked by the Mel. Holy crap, that damage is incredible from Psycho. And it's going to still be a 1 versus 1. Apex Predators can get one back. And I want to say, this has been such a close game, and for Apex Predators with the lead that they had, they're going to really want to pull out this win, because if they do end up losing this game, it's going to be a really crushing defeat, because it felt like at a certain point in this game with the leads that they had it in the palm of their hand. To lose it like this would be very crushing in this best of 3. It's still possible for them, but Next Level have done a great job to pull it back. And it's coming down to the Elder Drake here, Golden God. It's getting exciting.
Yeah, it's getting very close there. I will say, trading your fake tank for a real tank is definitely something that you would take 100% of the time. Now they do have a bit of a position here on the Dragon. I will say they don't have control of the Banana Brush, and I always say it's so important to establish control here, so Coltro's trying to rip it out of Annalee's hands here, and he's able to successfully do so. One more control ward does come through. They're looking for a pick on a Meslo.
Meslo, here they go. They're going to land the stuns, and there's the Unleashed Power, and that is going to be the Jace going down. Tooth Booth flashes away. Coltro is still on the backside, but the shutdown on the Sagiwami is massive. And the Apex Predators, they marched through. They found their re-engage. It was NLE that jumped in, but it's the Predators who reign supreme in this fight. The knockup lands, the rupture onto Tooth Booth, but there will be no continuation, as Apex Predators know they have an Elder Drake waiting for them just behind.
Nah, Geiger is just the MVP. He hits the two-man rupture on the Karma and the Ezreal to just instantly kill Sagewabi with the feast. So, hey, I gotta say, Geiger's playing amazing. Finds the Elder Drake now. They're in the driver's seat once again. Yes, they took their feet off the gas. They weren't able to keep up the snowball. But grabbing up this Elder should mean certain defeat for NLE. But we've seen crazier things. This is a 4-Drake Elder Drake, so it's as powered up as can be, so hopefully they're able to just close this one out.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see from Apex. They've been lacking a little bit with... I don't want to say their proactivity. They've been proactive. They've tried to make plays, but it's kind of been like they've tried to beat a dead horse. They were making the same play over and over again at the Baron, trying to catch out NLE around their red jungle, find a pick, and then turn towards it. There's been a lot of A-ramming in this game. Now's the perfect time to potentially A-ram. Maybe you want to split it up, but if there was ever a moment to hit every single go button possible, now is the time. And like you said, Golden God, make it happen, make it count right now. This next minute and a half that you have the Elder Dragon, you have to get at least some inhibs here, otherwise this is not looking good.
Yeah, but they're putting themselves in a good position. They're able to split up the members here. The Cho'Gath is on that mid lane, and that's your unpickable member, the one that requires 3-4 people to kind of go index towards. So it's going to just be a 4v4 on the bot side that they're probably going to have to go for as this bot inhib gets encroached upon. Geiger can always join. Not too long of a time since it is Cho'Gath. He could just walk through the turret. Not like it's too big of an issue. Just going to hit this turret with the Demolish proc and just take it down. So just the auto range is absurd when Cho'Gath is this large. So, yeah, able to take it. 2 turrets into their pocket already with this Elder, but they haven't been able to find a pick at all. They are going to be now going for that 3rd outer here. And things are getting kind of dicey. Meslo has to make sure he stays careful since he is the only exposed member at this point, but nice.
It's dangerous. It's so dangerous. They're actually just looking for the pincer maneuver. They're just going, oh, they're going for broke. They're looking for the dive. Golden Eclipse goes down, and there's the execute on the Sage Wabi. The carry is down. The cease and desist into the backline means nothing. Psycho goes golden. He keeps himself safe. Geiger is still in the front line. Apex Predators, they have found 3, and they're looking to try and get the game as well. Fiji and Al Calamity, the only ones left. There's still 15, 20 seconds remaining on this Elder Drake, and enough time for them to push down the base and try and look for this. Geiger has the teleport, should just use it onto a mini here, but they've lost the wave. Do they have enough time is the question. They did win the fight. This could be their moment here in game number 1. I think they're still going to press for this.
Yeah, just grabbing up an extra item, making sure this Cho'Gath is just as large as possible. Psycho taking a pretty big chunk there.
Here we
Fiji
go.
now going down.
Fiji's going to get locked up. He's got so much damage, kind of compacting down upon him. Al Calamity flashes away from the 2 disguise, and Fiji is somehow still alive. The first Nexus Tower will fall. There's 1 Canyon minion still giving that extra damage over to Apex Predators. It took a whole lot of time, but in just under 40 minutes, Apex Predators, they finally put NLE in their place, and they will take game 1 in this best of 3.
It wasn't the cleanest game, but man, Apex Predators showing what they are. You know, that was a great game from them. I think especially great performances from all of the players there. In particular, I think, you know, individually, everyone having a pretty solid game. No one really coming down. I mean, I will say Geiger, hey, you made me a fan just in that one game. The Cho'Gath was immaculate. I will say, I think if Apex Predator just goes for the flip, right? It's only a flip in parentheses because you have the Cho'Gath smite. They just win the game right there. But instead they go for the pick. It doesn't work out, and the game kind of stalls out a bit. So I'm just saying, if they just go for it, that's my advice. You know, I think you leverage the fact you have this Cho'Gath combo. Yes, people screw it up all the time, but Cho'Gath is much easier to do than the Callista. I don't know why, but it just is. So
you know your damage when you're playing Cho'Gath. That's the thing. You could take a look and you can say, okay, it's like 1,000 plus tree damage. It's like 1,400 or something. Callista, you gotta have to just eyeball it. You just need a lot of hours on Callista to say, okay, I've been hitting this for like 15 seconds. It's going to do like 2,000 damage, so we can time it up there. But you're absolutely right. Nonetheless, though, Apex Predators get it done. While we wait to get into game number 2, we will cut to a very short break. And when we return, game number 2 will be on the horizon between Apex Predators and Next Level Esports. Welcome back, everyone, to the Salt Mine and coverage of the Aegis Champions League, a matchup between Apex Predators and Next Level Esports here in Group E of the GSL stage. And it's a 1-0 lead so far for Apex Predators. We just saw game one go down, and quite the doozy there. 40 minutes, Apex Predators got the lead. It took them a little while to get the job done, but in the end, they ended up doing it. Ferris and Goldegad here bringing you coverage of this matchup. And well, now it's time, Golden Gad, for Next Level Esports to bounce back.
Yeah, this is game two, of course, so they have some adjustments to make, I'm sure, for next level, especially I think in the kind of carry department. I think an Ari could have went pretty well with this Vi. It seems like there was a bit of a disconnect there in that particular pairing. Obviously, we're not going to be seeing Vi again since it is Fearless, so that's something that natural adaptation is going to have to be a part of. And coming from next level esports perspective, they are the tier one team who's played in probably more tournaments than the opposition. This is where your deep champion pool and deep understanding of the game from just being around more should come into play as we go into game two for Fearless, since there's going to have to be adaptations, and it's willful or not.
We're ready for the draft between these two and ready to see what they bring to the table in game number two. I think for the side of Next Level, Sage Wabe was on one on that Ezreal. He had such a great performance. He made a couple mistakes. There was a couple arcane shifts that maybe weren't the best and ended up resulting in him dying in very immediate fashion. But I think the game plan for NLE really should be enable Sage Wabe to carry this game. Put him on something like a Kaisa that he can play. I'm sure he can play all the other hyper carries too. The Jinxes, the Zeris. Try and enable him if he's on this level of performance. Get him to be your primary carry. Get the resources in his pocket and set him up for success.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, since he did actually still have a great performance on the Ezreal. It wasn't anything too out of the ordinary, besides maybe getting a little bit too aggressive with arcane shifts every now and then. So definitely could be that reliable member here. We're going to see Ambessa get banned out, a very strong pick here for the top lane, of course. You're kind of seeing some pretty big top lane prio. You saw the Scion get banned out last time as well, and it's going to continue to be banned in this one as well. There are still other picks here, such as the Rumble, which is definitely still something you could end up picking up. And then here's the Zed call out again. But it seems like it's on the other side. Did they swap sides by chance? This is seeming like the other side's bans.
Yeah, okay, so it is. That's a good call out there, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, it's Meslo that's the Zed player. They're thinking that maybe NLE is something up their sleeve, but no, yeah, okay. So it is the swap sides. NLE will be on the blue side here. So again, taking those big picks away, the weak side target there on to Fiji from Apex Predator side. And yeah, I mean, if you're Apex, again, I think the game plan was nice. They had weak side for Psycho. They gave a lot of that carry potential into both Colthrow and Meslo, although Geiger on the Cho'Gath did a fantastic job. So I think, you can stick to that same game plan. It really worked out for you. But if you can close out your games a little bit easier, then that would be something that they would definitely like to be able to improve on from last game.
Yeah, the Talia and the Tristana getting taken off the table here. So some pretty good laning picks in particular getting called out immediately here. I feel like this really rises the prio up on something like Victor. I could see that really getting locked in here. Obviously, Meslo with the more assassin-focused champion pool could really exploit that pick in particular. So I'd be a little bit more scared about using that one. But it could be something like an Azir as well, since the priority will go down a bit on Victor. But yeah, Varus getting through the ban table makes a lot of sense just to lock that up immediately. One of the premier strong side AD carries currently in the meta. Lee Sin getting banned out again, not too surprising. The pick has definitely found its footing yet again. The Jin's going to be the response pick, it looks like, which is, something a little bit more interesting. They're going for more of that neutralization identity on the bot side. So I expect a pretty big engage champion here for the support lockup for Apex here, just to complement the Jin. And they're going to go for the Xin Zhao, which is actually a great, just a good solo, not carry, but, kind of like this can do it all champion that you really want to see when you have a little bit lower damage on the AD carry position.
He's also a fan. I like the response of Zinzao into Varus just because he's a great champion at soaking the pressure of the chains of corruption because you can eat that ability and just pop Crescent Guard. And a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times you will actually be able to end up walking out okay. So I do like this response. I also think the Jin into Varus is something solid and reliable here for Psycho. Wukong in response, next level esports indexing into, again, some more engage. I think something that's a little bit easier to execute than the Vi, even though Vi is that point and click cease and desist. They'd had some problems syncing up their engage. So having something like the Wukong, having this Victor now being hovered that you've been talking about a whole lot here, Golden Gad, some reliable backline damage, a couple chances to find engage with the double knockups on the Cyclone. I like what NLE's building for themselves a lot better in game 2 than what they had in game 1 so far.
Yeah, the Varus Victor, a really classic combo, especially in this year's meta. Makes a lot of sense here. I would like to see support probably get locked in here, since I don't think Meslo really cares if you get rid of 2 more of his champions, unless they just want the Akali. I was going to say, except for maybe Akali, which would definitely get banned. So they want that matchup that is favorable for Akali, of course. Since as soon as level 6 takes over, Akali pretty much has all reign to be able to take over this lane. Previously when Victor was really OP, it was still kind of even since Victor can kind of find a lot of pressure in the Akali pre-6. But now with those nerfs coming in a couple patches ago back now, definitely very Akali favored again. So seeing this pick get locked in is no surprise, and you have to imagine NLE kind of planned for this. So we're gonna have to see what kind of reliable disengage do they have for this Akali going forward, since they have to deal with both a Xin Zhao, Akali, and then the Jin doesn't really care. He can just snipe out from the very long range here to kind of supplement those 2 picks to allow some CC to come through as well.
Both teams have promptly responded to each other with their picks in terms of roles, right? We're still waiting on support and top lane for both of these squads. A need for engage here and a great Braum ban as I say that because you do need engage here. Barlow is a very aggressive player. Played the Nautilus last time around. If you do want that aggressive pick, Braum is going to be a very big thorn in your side. So maybe look to take away some engage options if you're NLE on this last ban, something
Leona?
in the support role. A
Hmm?
Gwen ban, though, is very interesting. Kind of, I guess, giving us hints as to what they want to do. Again, weak side for Fiji. Gwen is still very strong in the game of League of Legends right now, but do they just blind pick their support? Do they save support for last pick? I feel like they do, and they actually grab the pick right here for their top side and make sure that Barlow can play something that he really wants to play. Not going to do that. This opens the door for a potential counter, something with heavy lockdown to make sure this Rakan is a tough time.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Rakan. I actually would have just slammed the Leona. It does great into Victor and Varus, and I could have seen that being the real big pick here for the side of Apex, but they're just going to go Rakan, which could be immediately answered by that same Leona, which is why I was considering it a little bit more than the Rakan. We'll have to see what ends up happening as far as what they actually pick here. NLE is going to lock in Cassante, the old reliable of the top lane, can do it all as a champion, so makes a lot of sense. But maybe it has fallen out of favor just a little bit. But it's going to be the Seraphine, a
Oh,
very interesting call out, which I think is actually pretty good, since I believe Seraphine double E does actually stop dashes. So I think that's actually a pretty good call out there, and I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting. That does provide a lot of protection and, most importantly, a lot of scaling on top of that. Seraphine, one of the hardest scaling champions in
whoa.
the game, and we're just going to get a singed. This is some classic shenanigans from from the side of Geiger into this Cassante. Singed obviously does not care at all what this Cassante does, and Singed, I mean that's so reliable right there.
Dude, I was prepping for this series. I was taking a look at OP.GG's and I saw the Singed in Geiger's history. He actually had quite a lot of games of Singed this season, 20 games or so. And I thought to myself, there's no way, right? I don't have to write any of this down. I don't have to think of a possibility of change. Maybe something like Yorick, right? That's been changed is coming up in priority against these tanks like Cassante. Maybe we'll see something like the Yorick, but not Singed. Was not expecting that. Maybe it's my lack of ball knowledge of who Geiger is, but Geiger's gonna let me know this game, or maybe he's gonna let me know in the other way. This the Singe is a very interesting pick for competitive, and that really gets me excited. Is he going to proxy? Is he going to lane? Is he going to play the chaotic style of the Singed that we see in our solo queue games? That's what's yet to be seen. I'm super excited for this. The Dark Seal start right off rip as we get onto the Rifts. Oh man, Golden Gad, that just spiced things up and got me all jittery there on that R5. Those are the R5s we love to see. It's game number 2, Apex Predators versus Next Level Esports here in the Aegis Champions League.
Yeah, so seeing the Singed. So, Singed, obviously, kind of a stranger to this meta. Has been played a lot in previous metas, especially with tank-heavy presence, since Singed is kind of the great neutralizer for all tanked matchups. You can pretty much ignore all of them, since they don't have enough wave clear to be able to actually force the Singed to start catching waves at the turret rather than proxying. So, definitely some very interesting stuff here. And, you know, I think the Singed makes sense. In general, it does very well into Cassante. You can really lock up a Victor or a Varus, especially when they're already having to deal with stuff like the Jin and the Xin Zhao, just, you know, completely sniping out from a longer distance. And then, you know, you pair that with something like an Akali, and you can really find some great picks here. You know, that being said, there's a very good core here from the side of NLE, and I think they could find a pretty good opportunity to take this game, especially since they have such good long-range damage. That is pretty reliable, but I think that line could be definitely be broken, and if they come out to an early disadvantage like they were in the last one, Apex could just pretty easily take this one, I think.
That is a good shout. It was Apex Predators who came out swinging in game 1. They got the lead. And an interesting kind of narrative about this game too is we've kind of tipped the scales or flipped the script, I guess you could say. It's that front to back style of team that is more so now in the hands of NLE this time around. Something that just feels a little bit easier in terms of its execution, and something that's going to be more skirmish heavy now in the hands of Apex Predators. We'll see how well they do with something like this. As you can see, Geiger getting that flip, the level advantage. Getting some damage onto Fiji. Is going to take a tower shot, though, as we did actually end up seeing that. But again, shouldn't be too much of a problem. Should have good control of this lane, and might not have to worry about ganks either, because it's always dangerous to give attention to a Singed when you're a jungler. So I feel like Kitsuo might just leave this lane completely alone, and Geiger's going to be able to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, my only concern for this game, for Apex in particular, is they are going to have a pretty big difficulty of killing Cassante through all the Seraphine support there. I think that's going to be pretty difficult for these fights, especially since they are running stuff like the Jin, the Akali, that don't really want to be hitting the Cassante in these fights. So unless they're really able to clean up the rest of the team while the Cassante kind of just does his own thing, I could see fights being pretty difficult, especially since Seraphine... Hey, I'll never underestimate this champion. She always does disgusting things in these games, and stuff like the Encore is always so insane when it actually does come to full fruition.
I will say the tank killing potential, like you said, the shields on the Cassante, it is pretty weak there from Apex Predator's side. They have Akali to kill the squishies. Jin does not do a very good job at killing the tanks away, and so that could be a problem if Fiji gets some gold into his pocket. It could be very difficult there for this Cassante to actually drop, especially with all those buffs the Seraphine is getting, as we see now. Junglers on opposite sides of the map, Barlow and Psycho, do know that the Monkey King is inside of the river, making things a little bit difficult for them as Meslo took that shuriken. Meslo has to flash away from the gravity field. I don't know if he wanted to take that one back. That's going to be without flash here in the mid lane for Apex Predators.
You have to assume he thought the shuriken hit the Victor rather than the Shroud, and was just expecting some extra damage, so the Victor gets a little bit more scared off. But no, it was the Shroud, and Meslo takes a huge chunk. He's going to have to just stay in this lane. So, anyway, Geiger's getting pretty dangerously low. It is Singed.
Oh, we're seeing some action happening bot side as well. Yeah. Flash burns in bot side Psycho. They have to burn the Summoner Heal. Meslo's almost dead mid lane as well. I keep wanting, I forget Singed players are Singed players, Golden Gad, because I want to start talking and saying, okay, whoa, Geiger's getting in a pretty dangerous spot here, but it's just Singed. This is how they play. Like, I'm getting scared right now, man. Like, this is making my anxiety skyrocket.
Yeah, Singed is always a little bit more difficult. I will say maybe Fiji had the solo kill potential if the Q actually landed right before we cut to the bot lane. I think that could have definitely been something, but Geiger with some nice footwork, which is what you'd expect of someone who practices and plays a lot of Singed. They will have good dodging since it's kind of required on the champion. So, you know, Geiger definitely showing some proficiency already, which is a good sign. I will say he probably will be the K'Sante killer with stuff like Leandries and other stuff like that with max HP damage as well coming through. I will say Meslo, despite having to kind of that big blunder before, doesn't really care too much. You know, the Victor, as I said, is a bad matchup. And Victor in a side lane is going to be pretty difficult throughout this entire game. Singe doesn't really care about the Victor. Akali definitely wants to see Victor in the side lane, so I think it's going to be pretty difficult for, you know, Victor when the lane assignments kind of come through and the Varus shifts towards mid, and now Victor's in an island against either Akali or Singed, and that's a pretty dangerous thing since Xin Zhao could really follow up there very effectively on the Singed. Meslo level 6.
has to be careful. Here's the perfect execution from Meslo. They want this kill. He lands the shuriken, uses the R2. Kitsuo flashes away. The first blood goes to the Recon. And look at the dueling here. The mid support duo, the ISU duo here on the side of Apex Predators getting done. But now Barlow is in a position he doesn't want to be in. Does still have the flash. Is he going to use it? He is, but it's way too late. And Al Calamity is still going to be able to grab that kill for himself. Psycho on the run uses the cleanse to get away from the double beat drop. And one is going to be earned back from NLE, but proactivity there from Apex Predators, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, that was definitely solid there. Meslo getting a little bit of gold into his pocket. Yes, it wasn't the kill, unfortunately. The Khan did end up taking that one, but they did also force out Toothbooth's flash, so that's actually pretty crucial. Come forward for this Akali. We're going to get another pause. Hopefully nothing too crazy here. Yeah, I think it's a little bit interesting as Fiji does disconnect, so at least we have a reason in this one. Yeah, rage quit right there.
He's seeing Singed proxy. He's like, I'm done, bro. I'm not playing this.
Singed proxying. He's up in CS as well. Man. Just a sad time. And especially since, you know, at least they were able to pause in time. You don't really want to see K'Sante miss any of those minions under turret, or else you really will be put very far behind. So we'll have to see how that goes. I will say it's been pretty quiet from both these junglers. You know, Kitsuo was the one who unfortunately fell down to getting kind of isolated out. But, you know, Goldthrow's just been farming. Like, he's just chilling. He has had zero bearing on this game. He's got his grubs up as well, so able to claim up the first objective with no real big response since Kitsuo went down. But they do have a little bit of tempo here on that bot side for the Drake coming forward, so they should be able to grab it up as a response.
And if Zinzao comes ahead with... He's got a 10 CS lead right now. If he comes ahead with a big gold lead, we know what Zinzao can do. This champion is pretty disgusting. His skirmish potential is phenomenal. So we'll see what Goldthrow can do with those extra resources. Is back to the Drake. Goes the side of NLE. They should be able to grab that one up. A big CS lead is brewing in the top lane. Geiger's having himself a really good start to the game. Yeah, I actually didn't even realize I did that. Man, I'm actually, I guess I'm just a genius and I don't even realize it. I'm glad I have you here, Golden Guy. This is why I brought you along for this cast, for this this appearance on the Salt Mine, is to gas me up like that. We love to see that as Drake goes down, and, well, game state is going to be relatively favored thus far for Apex Predators. They got what they need so far. The Akali is even with the Victor despite the ranged versus melee, but now post 6, things are going to get a whole lot easier. I think they like their spot in this area of the game despite giving away that Drake, but it is ending up their trade.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here on the Salt Mine, of course. I will say, every time I see Singed, I don't know why. I think my friends always used to make jokes about this champion, like his voice line that goes mix, mix, swirl, mix, mix, swirl. That is like completely in my brain. It's never going away. That's just what this champion means to me. So as soon as you said brew, I was like mix, mix, swirl in my head.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. No, dude. The League voice lines, that can't be considered brain rot. That's been out for a whole lot of time. That's the new gen stuff. That's been out. Singed has been a champion since season 2 or 3. He's an oldie. He's old school. We like that kind of stuff there. I'd love to hear the Golden Gad lore. What's going on in Golden Gad's brain? As well, Goldthrow, what's on his brain is an invade into the top side of the map. And, well, guess what? Because Singed has this proxy and because the Akali has this mid lane push, I'm sorry, Kitsuo, but your topside jungle is Goldthrow's, and there's not really a whole lot of response play here from NLE.
Yeah, I mean that is the Singe special. You are, if you're the top laner experiencing some Singed syndrome, you're definitely not going to be so happy. Kitsuo's going to spot Cold Throw there on the blast plant, now in a pretty dangerous position.
Wait a second, he jumps in with the Cyclone. He's going to use the Clone as well. He's going to get some good damage onto Cold Throw, and the Kasante's here as well. Wait a second, this Wukong does damage, but Geiger's going to be able to grab the kill. Cold Throw now get very low as well. Crescent Guard is used, but here's the all-out, and Fiji will get that kill back. Some trading in the bot lane. Psycho's flashing forward. He wants this. Lands the Deadly Flourish. Keeps on going. Fourth shot Q. Feats of Warfare claim. Meslo goes in, finds a solo kill. What is going on in the Rift? We've got Pandemonium. We've got fist fights. We've got kills. 4 of them go to Apex Predators.
Yeah, but Apex just comes out ahead again in this one. Somehow, some way, this Sagewabe Al Calamity bot lane is not going up to par here. Now Geiger, I'm not even going to talk about this. Let's go on. This is Singed gameplay. But he is getting chased out by Kitsuo, so maybe... Oh, he's dancing on him. There's no way.
Wow. Well, now Kitsuo showed up, and so he's like, okay, wait a second. Oh, wow. Okay, good flash. Actually, that was good CC. I guess the buffer there from Fiji on the Pathmaker, and good recognition of that from Geiger. Does the flash away. That was pretty clean. And Meslo is going to teleport in, catch that wave. I'm assuming Geiger's going to head over to the mid lane himself, as he is. He's going to teleport over there, and yeah, it's great that it's a good point to make, Golden Gad, because we were hyping up Sagewabe and Al Calamity as this bot lane that should, you know, really take matters into their own hands, win this 2 versus 2, and honestly, this has not been the case the past 2 games. There's been a couple kills that went Sagewabe's way in game 1, but Psycho and Barlow, they have held their own, and that 2v2 win there, it really shows that they're going toe-to-toe.
Yeah, and at this point, it's a pretty big lead here for the Jhin here, up just 15 CS just about. Is also going to get a nice earlier recall here than the Varus, so just be able to continue that pressure going forward. Meslo, though, taking a little bit of a beating with this Sante.
We got an all-out brawl for the Grubs here as Geiger's leading the charge in the front lane. Kitsuo jumps in, but immediately tries to retreat. Barlow's got the follow-up. The quickness is on to 3. Fantastic engage from the Rakan, but it will be Fiji to knock down the Singed as Meslo jumps into the backside, finds the R2, and will take down the Victor. All Calamity is next, and Fiji has no friends left to work with. He will get the all-out, but somehow he ends up on the opposite end of the wall as the bot laners as well are in a 1 versus 1 of their own. The curtains have been opened up, and it looks like Sagewabe will live to see another day, but once again, Apex Predators, they win the duel around the Grubs.
Yeah, and that could have been a disaster. Geiger almost lived there with the ultimate online. That could have just been a free, you know, a home free Singed out of that one. But still, Meslo especially is doing such good work here. You're gonna see him go for it, be more of a burn build. So that those woes about Kasante being unkillable could be answered quite quickly, since this probably will be a Leandri's into Abyssal Mask if I had to guess for the Singed, which should really shred down this Kasante. And I mean, this Victor is looking pretty powerless here in this one, and I feel like Apex is just playing better on the day.
They certainly are. They're having themselves fantastic early games. Now, again, we do have to bring up the fact that they had this lead in game number 1. Their ability to close things out, their ability to make proactive plays happen as successfully as maybe they drew it up in their minds was not great. We'll see if they can improve on that in this game. We do have the Drake up and available. They have themselves a 3,000 gold lead. They'd love to fight, and honestly, I don't see a world where Kitsuo and gang are going to try and contest that as Geiger is running around amok inside of his own jungle. Can't be too happy to see that.
Yeah, not able to steal away the Wolf Camp, which it seemed like he wanted to do there. Poor Geiger, so just going to be able to survive out that one. Some nice deep vision here from Barlow, finding a nice ward on the red buff here. He's getting a little bit isolated, has to be careful. I think doesn't have the W, but maybe just looking for something. Jhin can, of course, join on this
Barlow's
fight.
jumping on in. Here's the quickness. There's the grand entrance, and Sagewabe is going to have to use a flash to try and buy some space, but Cold Throw's jumping on in. He uses the Crescent Guard, but he can't close the gap. Now Cold Throw in the front line tries to use the clone to get over the wall, has to use the flash instead. Uses the second charge of the Cyclone as Meslo's here first. They're grouped up as 3. It will be Next Level Esports to find their retreat, but the prize for Apex Predators should be this Infernal Drake.
Some very fortunate things working out there for Next Level Esports. Barely able to cancel out on that Rakan. W knockup. Definitely a big factor in why they live, but Geiger now.
Here we go. Okay, this is some moments where Singed is in trouble. This time he's really in trouble as Geiger gets the flip. Oh, he's not able to dodge away from the Q3, and there's the solo kill from Fiji. That's gotta feel good. You finally lock down the Singed. And that's the third kill of the game for this Cassante. Fiji trying to hold together everything that, you know, NLE is trying to hold on to, as in the mid lane, things aren't going so well. Fortunately, the Victor will survive. Bot lane is also looking quite rough. The current call is not going to finish the job there for Psycho. Colthrow looking for Tooth Booth. This Victor's so low. He's looking so juicy. Flash wind becomes lightning, and Colthrow grabs the kill.
Yeah, just able to claim up that one on the Victor. A little bit sad here, having to play into this very scary counter pick of the Akali. Hasn't really had a good footing here. Able to at least keep up its CS, which is definitely a good thing here for Tooth Booth. But, you know, the Akali being 2-0-5 means that gold lead is definitely very large in the mid lane. Probably the largest of any lane I have to guess.
Well, Sagewabi's been knocked up, and Psycho is running forward. Drops that fourth shot, forces the barrier out of the Varus. You always got to use that preemptively when you're playing against the Jhin. That execute damage is no joke, and I love the continued aggression from this bot side here for Apex Predators. They're taking it to Sagewabi and All Calamity, and honestly, it's a lethality Varus. This is not like it's a Zeri or a Jinx or a Kaisa here for Sagewabi. This is not a champion that, and not a build on a certain champion that's really going to come alive later on. This is about where you're going to peak. You're going to get the Man Immune item, and you're going to get an extra boost of damage, but there's not a lot of DPS there outside of Kitswo for this NLE team. So once again, things not looking too great for them early on, and I wonder if Sagewabi is going to be able to have the performance he had in Game 1 from this position in Game 2.
Yeah, at the very least, you'll have a little bit more cooldown reduction to be able to get those Chains of Corruption more reliably. Meslo's going to not land the Shuriken toss there. Going to call off the play. A TP coming in from Cassante. There will be action here. Colthrow kind of in no man's land.
There is interesting positions. Colthrow jumps in, and Barlow's going to follow this one up. Lands the quickness onto 3. Psycho joining the party, but Fiji is here, and now Colthrow could be in trouble. Al Calamity flashing over the wall. He's going to get the safety. Shutdown is going to go to this Cassante, but they've converged onto Tooth Booth. Gets flipped over to safety. It looks like Geiger actually saved the enemy there. He flashes forward. The poison will take down Kitswo. This Singe is unhinged and unleashed in this game. Psycho is trying to run from the Cassante, who is also wreaking havoc for his squad. Sagewabi still hitting from the backside, able to find the auto attacks, trying to get onto Meslo. Fiji finds another kill for himself. This guy is completely insane. 6-0. He's having himself the game of his life on Cassante.
Well, that Cassante we were talking about earlier being unkillable, definitely coming true here, but being more of a damage dealer in this one. Tooth Booth kind of sacrificing himself to do a lot of damage to start off that fight, so Fiji's able to successfully close out that one. And you know, that fight looked pretty scary here for Apex, and they're going to let some things slip through the cracks. Colthrow just a little bit too deep, but still could have made good use out of the Crescent Guard there, but, you know, it was kind of a slobber knocker of the fight, and at the very least, NLE comes out with a bit of a lead on that one, especially with tempo to be able to secure that bot lane turret.
They definitely want some kills onto someone other than Fiji very soon. You look at the 0-4 scores on Kitsuro and Tooth Booth, and you're like, man, I wish a couple of these kills on Fiji's side were going over, but if Fiji's able to replicate performances like that in team fights again and again, who cares if it doesn't matter if it's Sagewabi, Tooth Booth, or Fiji. If someone's carrying the fight, they're going to be happy about that. So this is a very unique situation that NLE is in. A lot of the resources is on this guy, and I mean, look at that HP bar. This is a beefy boy. Again, Jhin sitting on a collector and a BF sword. Not going to be really able to eat through that HP bar, so we'll see what Fiji can do going forward. The player to look at from the NLE side as he tries to stop the proxy, and on the other side of the map, it's Rift Herald being taken there for the Apex Predators, and Geiger. Uh-oh. This is not a good situation, my friend. He's able to stick to you quite nicely, and there's going to be another kill picked up on the other side of the map as Psycho ends up eating a double beat drop to the face and will fall 2 kills back. The gold is dead even.
Yeah, I feel like you just have to play a little bit more reserved now. I will say that last fight, I think, was mostly lost off the fact that they probably didn't have perfect execution.
Meslo?
Meslo so effectively here in this one, so they're able to get away from that hard engage from Meslo. But now it brings the question. This is a Drake that I don't think Apex can contest since Fiji is in the area. So, but they are going to go for it. They're committing the members to TP over. They will have the Jhin join as well using those Hex gates. As Geiger just going very fast towards the enemy. Really needs that Rylai's to be able to survive in this side lane against the K'Sante at this point, since you need to be able to kite out. But they're able to somehow, with the help of the Rift Herald they secured before, claim this dragon. So they're going to go up 2-1 in a pretty unlikely scenario, I'd say.
I think the fact that Tooth Booth did not have teleport also played a factor into the decision-making there of NLE saying, well, if we try and contest this, it's going to be 5 versus 4, so probably best we give it away. Only second Drake, still very far away from that soul. At the very least, 10 minutes will pass by before NLE has to worry about that if the next one goes over to Apex. And, well, they do have Dragon stacking going their way. Apex working towards those 2 items on Psycho. The Rift Maker now complete from Meslo, going to be dealing that extra bit of damage, that Omni Vamp building up in these longer fights. And, well, I think given how fed Fiji is, I think these fights are going to be going on for quite a long time as long as he's still standing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good call out there. If I had to like put my finger, I think it really is they just need to combo this perfect execution, because I feel like it's kind of been lacking just a little bit, and that's kind of what's put them behind. And Meslo really was such a big focus of their early game. Really need to see this guy come through, but the shuriken flip's not going to land.
They're looking for the dive. There's the quickness. There's the R2, but there's no damage. This Victor's still sitting half HP. Meslo's just going to die to the turret. This is a disaster for Apex. They miscalculated on the dive, and they give 2 kills over back to NLE.
I feel like the perfect execution, you know, the R2 missed. It looked that way. Maybe it just did no damage since it's such a high HP target there, but the shuriken flip going wide is really disastrous there, especially since no shuriken toss to kind of get the slow to guarantee all the rest of the damage afterwards came through. So a little bit of miscalculation there, and the Victor's going to get bailed out in this game to be able to kind of survive and catch up to this Kali at this point.
It's definitely a good look right now for NLE, and once again, it's Apex that's kind of fumbling the advantage that they've had. They've lost a couple fights. Fiji's been popping off. They fumbled the dive there. Now, I will say, a very ambitious Ruinous Otacon start. Maybe NLE thinks they can burn this before the rest of Apex Predators get there. But Barlow's on the flank. Geiger's in the area. Teleport is coming on in here from Meslo. Fiji is trying to keep Cold Throw at bay. They are going to secure the objective, but can they get the flowers? Kitsuo is dropping very low. The poison is ticking. The flank on the curtain call. Psycho is able to find the Wukong. And now everyone converging onto the members of NLE. Toothbooth is going to fall. All Calamity in the midst of everyone. The flowers still alive. Fiji, the final boss of this team, is trying to do his very darndest to win this fight, but it's going to be the full ace for Apex. A huge blunder for NLE on this shot call.
As I said, they aren't that far behind. They just need the execution to land, and Akali's able to do the work before she goes down. And you have this Xin Zhao being a complete menace in the front line with a beautiful angle on the curtain call to just chunk down the squishier members from NLE. And, you know, Apex makes a quick one of it, and they're going to grab the main prize of Ruinous Otacon. All the flowers you can actually pick up, not the smite target. That matters much less, especially with them already being up to a Drake advantage. You know, yes, it's nice to have that extra 25%, but if you're the one that's going to carry on into Seoul, you don't really care that much that they're going to be sitting with that Otacon.
No, absolutely not. You couldn't care less if you're Apex Predators, as long as you get those neutral objectives. That's a fantastic play, and I don't know. I'm a real big hater of starting Otacon, whether it's Voracious, whether it's Ruinous, it doesn't really matter, when the entirety of the enemy team is alive and can just collapse on you like that. It's so dangerous. Your resistances get shredded, and you get put into a spot where you just can't, you're sort of compacted and convoluted and grouped up inside of this, I guess you could call it a pseudo pit that Otacon resides in. And I also want to shout out Barlow and Psycho in that fight. They played that really well, finding flanks. The quickness was onto almost everyone, and it was like if you can recall, you go deep into your ball knowledge, a Huanfeng 2020 curtain call where it's like from the opposite direction that you would think of. And it was really effective there for Apex to win that fight. Now with this new life, Golden Gad, now with the lead back into their hands, a bit of extra gold in their pockets. See what they can end up doing with this. But though Fiji in the side lane, though, still very strong. It looks like they're taking control of this jungle area, though, working towards control over this next Drake.
Yeah. Now at this point, at least the Singe won't just die. Has the Rylai's, so the side lane's a little bit more reliable than before. Still sitting 8-1 on the Skasante. Definitely a huge part of the success of NLE in this one. The Drake is coming up here. Both top laners going for the reset here to be able to join up on this fight. Already NLE establishing a vision line. Not a great one, to be said. Colthrow just in no man's land is going to spot the Cassante on the backside. Going to have to go for a quick retreat here. And that's a pretty long journey to get back over to this Drake for the Xin Zhao. So maybe NLE has a bit of an opportunity to look for it. But they're not really making a snap call for it since they are a little bit scared of the collapse from the Akali on bot side.
I really like what Apex is doing, though. They're looking for deep flanks. They're looking to try and just take down Toothbooth, Sage, Wabe, Al Calamity, this very vulnerable backside of NLE. It's Fiji who's trying to hold things together and be this front line, but here comes Barlow once again on the flank. Everyone's grouped up, and this is just a meat grinder of a fight, but a huge encore from Al Calamity is going to tear Apex Predators to shreds, and that will be the massive Arcane Storm to follow it up. A triple kill from Sage Wabe. Fiji is running down the Jhin. The Drake will go the way of NLE. The all-out is used. Psycho nowhere to go. 4 kills for the Varus. Shut down to him to boot as well. And a massive fight for NLE will net them huge wins.
Yeah, it looks so bad from the side of NLE there until you take into context what their comp is. They have the Wukong Cyclone to deny all the dashes that can come through, and you saw all the members of Apex going for this dive, and they're all just getting instantly knocked up into the Encore, and that is just going to be a full wipe as the Cyclone, or the Chaos Storm, or Arcane Storm now, from the Victor just claims up everyone, since, you know, there really wasn't a big response after that Cyclone found everyone. I mean, that was just very well played, and just knowing the team comp well from the side of NLE. You know, you have the Seraphine double shielding, you have the Cyclone. These things are so good at dissuading these very big dive ball comps.
All Calamity's encore. That was beautiful. You said it, Golden Guide. That was the big point, the pivotal point. The Cyclone was also another great thing to point out. The disengaged power of NLE's composition really showing what it can do in that fight. And, well, we had the Otacon throw for Apex, or sorry, for NLE, and now we had the, I guess it wasn't really a throw, it was just a huge team fight win around the Drake for NLE, so things are kind of flipping-flopping back and forth, and we're getting leads for one team, leads for another. Now the question is, can NLE hold on to what they have? Can they use this Baron to their advantage to get some things to go down their way? As Geiger is flashing towards his Xin Zhao. Encore is going to land on the both, but All Calamity's just gone. Now Teleport is coming on in. Here comes Fiji. The curtains are going to be called. Toothbooth goes golden. They're on to Sage Wabe. Just as I say it, the caster curse might have reigned true. Toothbooth falls down. Teleport in from Meslo. Fiji's trying to keep the rest of his team safe. He might be the sacrifice. He's trying to find Colthrow and trade it at the very least, but Meslo will find Sage Wabe off screen, and Fiji's in the middle of everyone trying to get into this fight. He's Kitsuo, but he's all too late. And now everyone from NLE is down. Golden Gad, what is going on the Rift?
Throw after throw. I feel like I've seen this one before, not too long ago, in a different game, in a different league. But oh man, this is a slobber knocker. I'm not gonna lie, they are fist fighting to the extreme, and I think those kinds of fights where it's not the big death ball style, where you can kind of fight one person at a time, is perfect for Apex. You have the Akali, who does very well in these kind of duel scenarios. So try to deny this
Psycho.
turret.
He's not going to be able to save the turret. Can they find the kills, though? Psycho flashes away, but you're not getting away from this one. The shields are good from All Calamity. Barlow is now going to be the target. Will be able to use the Grand Entrance over the wall. The Gravity Wall might stun him, not going to do so. That's a good pickup there, able to at least get one back.
yeah, able to, at the very least, Singed now, going to be able to claim up this top lane turret, so a little bit more gold going towards the way of Apex. But crucially, after that 5v5 on the bot side, well, I'll call it a 5v5, but it was really like a 3v1, and then 3v1 again, and then another 3v1.
Oh, no.
Oh,
The Shuriken misses, though. He does have Flash. Encore is going to be used, but he's gone. There's the R2. Kitsuo and Al Calamity now have to try and win this 2v2. The Arcane Storm still working to their advantage. But you can see right there in that play and in the previous play as well how squishy this backline is for NLE. They have a monstrous front line in the Cassante, but he just can't peel everyone, and when Toothbooth is out of position like that, he's just going to pop immediately to the damage that Apex Predators have.
Yeah, and the burst damage isn't really that prevalent for the side of NLE, so it's not like they can just dump all their spells and do a ton of damage and then go down for Cassante to clean up everything. They really do need to stay alive, and they just don't have the best peel options. Yes, the Seraphine provides a lot of protection, but you know, when it's like 2 or 3 members, it's not as solid as something like a Poppy, for instance, or some sort of other supplemental pick like a Talia in the mid lane. You really have to be playing extremely careful when these champions that close gaps so effectively are available.
30 seconds to go on this Drake. 3.5 items on the Zinzao. I will say in the previous plays too, I mean, Colthrow has just been annihilating health bars. He does so much damage. So they may have learned their lesson from previous plays, as Al Calamity could be in some trouble. He walks up, he's going to get knocked up by the Grand Entrance, and Neslo will eviscerate, that's the word I'm looking for, eradicate all of the E words, take him off the face of the Rift, and that will be 4 versus 5 now for the side of NLE. I don't think they have any hopes of contesting this Drake now. That will be soul point to Apex Predators.
Yeah, and you can see now they're going to be getting this Drake pretty easily. They're not able to find any cross maps since it is singed. I mean, even if the Wukong's behind the singe, you're not killing him at this point. Now, with also that pen item, the name escapes me currently. Bloodletter's Curse, right?
Yeah,
that's the one.
That's right.
So has a little bit more shred into the Cassante. Maybe not survivability, so the Cassante should still have the advantage on the side lane, but, you know, at the end of the day, that's still going to be pretty... That's going to make the Cassante mortal, for sure. That shred really does tick up quite quickly, especially with double Leandries for both the Akali and the Singed. We're seeing a little bit of an aggressive look here.
Arlo, Battle Dance, Psycho taking a lot of damage. There's the Arcane Storm. He's got no flash. He's burning. He's dead. The disrespect from the side of Apex Predators is going to mean that their AD carry is going down. Kitsuo is in pursuit. Battle Dance from the Rakan will bring him back to safety. Geiger's on the flank, and the grand scheme of things, this death probably won't mean a whole lot, but it will mean control potentially as Kitsuo's jumping on in. Does Apex want this fight? Colthrow is fighting on the front line as there's the R2 from the Cyclone. Meslo's into the back line. Toothbooth and Al Calamity, though, still quite healthy. The Wukong is getting very low. Great job from Neslo to buy some time, but now the Chains of Corruption have come through for Sage Wabe, and the first kill of the fight is earned for NLE. Make that a second, as the piercing arrow will rain true and strike the heart of Colthrow. Barlow and Geiger can do nothing about this. They can only try and clear the wave, as Next Level Esports have found their targets and are looking to continue the siege.
Yeah, they found the important members from the side of Apex. Jhin not available as a result of that kind of over-aggression. It was kind of questionable from my perspective. You know, you just kind of leave the Rakan, he'll be able to escape. The Jhin putting in some pot shots there, gonna get taken down with no flash, so definitely not optimal. And we have a pretty even game. I mean, there's really... It's as close as can be at this point. It really will come down to these teamfight executions. Fiji is, you know, we're seeing him actually take a decent amount of damage in these fights now, finally. So not exactly the immortal force he was before, but still providing a lot of pressure just for the positioning of a lot of the carries for the side of Apex. So there's a lot of considerations to be had here, and with Sage Wabe picking up the kind of spell shield, it means like Akali's engage is going to be a little bit more difficult. The Zanya is now also completed for the Victor, so has a bit more survivability on top of what is currently available. And then, yeah, I mean, I think this is just going to come down to execution. There really is nothing else to say here. The Singed can't really push the advantage anymore in the side lane to be able to pick up extra CS or waves. Obviously, has done a great job farming. 321 is insane, by the way.
It is absurd. That's very close to 10 CS per minute on a Singed. I mean, I don't see Singe very often, so seeing numbers like that, 80 carry numbers, is pretty insane. As Barlow could be found out, Kitsuo may end up using the Cyclone here. Barlow has already used the Grand Entrance. He's going to have to use the Quickness now. Kitsuo not wanting to burn the Cyclone. Now is going to use it. Beat Drop is not going to connect. Flash away. It's not going to matter. Kitsuo is going to pick up that kill. They found the support here for the side of Apex Predators as Meslo is looking for a solo kill himself. He's jumping on in. Going golden is Toothbooth. Gets away from the R2. Uses the flash. Pressure being applied because the Baron is being started by Next Level Esports. Curtain Call is being channeled. The shields from All Calamity are doing a good amount of job to keep everyone healthy, keep everyone alive. This 1 versus 1 on the bot side will continue. Meslo, he's just going to connect the Shuriken, and that means Toothbooth is going to go down. Al Calamity misses on the Encore. They're trying to keep Coulter out of the pit. Great job from Fiji to bring him away, and the Baron will be secured. But the question is, can they win the ensuing fight? Geiger is in the front line. Psycho is free hitting from the backside of the fight right now. He's untouched, but now he gets hit by the Q3. Now his position's compromised, but he flashes away. He's able to stay alive. Deadly Flourish connects. Sage Wabi is exposed. Cold throw, driving very low. Sage Wabi flashes away. Psycho, force shot will claim that kill. Teleport coming on in. The Akali's going to join the party. The bouncing grenade doing a whole lot. This Jin is tearing everyone to shreds. A quadra kill, and Apex Predators come out on top in the fight.
Yeah, Psycho with the 4 items there, hitting that spike on the pen item as well. So just able to do a ton of damage there with the complement of the coal throw, being able to do a ton of just disruption on the back line. And Geiger just complete nuisance, slowing down the Wukong, so there's just no help for Sage Wabe. And just like that, Apex comes out to quite a bit of a lead, and even Meslo winning on the other side of the map means they got even more gold in their pocket, and suddenly, out of nowhere, they're 4K gold up.
Man, this has been... I want to say, this has been... Even though we're only into Game 2, this series has delivered. Again, this is our Tier 1 team, a team drawn from the Tier 1 pool, and the Tier 2 team. So, on paper, the 2 best teams from this Group E are going off against each other, and they've given us a fantastic series. Game 1 was close. Next Level Esports battled back. Now the soul will be in the hands of Apex Predators here in Game number 2, trying to close this series out. And Next Level has fought tooth and nail to get back into a position where they can really contest these guys after the strong start from Apex Predators. A spot in the Swiss stage on the line in that 2-0 portion. These teams have given us a banger, but now with the Hex Soul in hands, the items where they want them to be almost full build for Psycho, this is the moment for Apex Predators to put their stamp on this series.
Yeah, and the synergy of a Jin with Hextech Soul is disgusting, because you're able to get the W's there just from proxy damage from stuff like a Singed or potentially even a Xin Zhao. So that kind of really does change how these fights can really open up, since you don't have to directly hit any of the carries to be able to actually lock them down. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if they're able to survive this onslaught. Singe now on the bot side, Akali on the top side. We're going for some classic 1-3-1 strategies here.
Psycho's got no flash. Psycho's got no flash, but can Kitsu actually win this 1 versus 1? The Jin might just take his head off. He's going to. That's a 1 versus 1. The Wukong is down, and Psycho will remain triumphant. Al Calamity is now dealing with the Singe. Toothbooth has joined the fray as well. He's teleported in. The Curtain Call is being channeled. Geiger is a menace in his backline. That shot from the Curtain Call did so much, and Toothbooth just sealed his own fate. No Yone with that Sonya's, and now the rest of the fight will continue. Fiji doing his very best to peel for All Calamity, and Sage Wabe. Psycho's jumping on board. He might have compromised his position, but the 4th shot does so much. We talked about this player. We said it's a mismatch here for NLE in the bot side, but this Jin has performed like an animal in this game in the best way possible. And Apex Predators, they found their prey. They were on the hunt, and they will take the 2-0 win over Next Level Esports.
Yeah, great play there out of Psycho, and a little bit of underestimating there by Kitsuo is going to put them in the dirt in this one. You see Jin at 2 shots left in the chamber. Trust me, that is the strongest position for a Jin to be at, and you're going to see them claim up the final kill on a Kitsuo. The 6-item Jin is here, so I mean, that's just going to be a quick one here, and Apex going to close out a very close game in game 2 to take the series and put themselves directly into Swiss at 2-0.
That was an incredible game. And Chef's Kiss on that final look of the Jin build, you have the Jin Exodia, you have the Collector Infinity Edge, you have your armor pen item, you have RFC for range, 100% crit, the Bloodthirster on top of it. You have like 10 gazillion AD, and we saw it right there. When do you see a Jin win a 1v1 Golden Cat against a Wukong of all champions? Completely isolated, no flash, nowhere for Jin to go. He just completely guns you down right in your face. That was some crazy, crazy stuff. And despite it being the 2-0 there, this series really was a fist fight between these two. And it was a real roller coaster back and forth between them.
Yeah, and I think a big shout out here is that I think Meslo did really well into Toothbooth. I
Yes.
think that difference in the mid lane definitely was the big difference maker for the side of Apex, and that's what gave them this series. I can call out things like, team fight misexecution and stuff, but when your mid laner is that consistently down throughout the series, and it's such a close series, that really should be something you kind of work on going forward. Maybe he needs a little bit more jungle attention, something like that. But that's the improvement pieces you're going to have to make going forward, since this league has so many more games to be played. And NLE coming in as the tier 1 favorites, at least to some degree, going to be sinking a little bit on that one. So you're going to expect some big adaptations from them. But I mean, honestly, Apex on the day, they played so well. I think all the members did exactly what their job entailed. Geiger, a menace on the Cho'Gath, showed you what Singed is made of in this meta as well on the top side. And I think all the flowers over to the bot lane as well for Apex, as they really showed a great performance. Especially, I think Barlow, kind of underrated. Found a lot of great engage, and also not just engage. He finds a way to disrupt these fights in very unique ways as that support player. So great look here from Apex, and I'm curious to see how they'll do in the future.
Yeah, the team play was fantastic. Again, these players have had a lot of extra reps with each other. They have synergies, Meslo and Barlow on ISU over in CLOL. This was basically 4 out of 5 there of this fantastic 5 roster in the OQs. This past experience with each other really showing in this series, and a massive win for them. Everyone playing super, super well. They were able to find the decisive fights in that last game. It looked a lot more clean from them in that second time around, and were able to take their leads that they were able to get and run away with that one. And that's going to do it for this series. That will do it for the stream. That was the Aegis Champions League Group E. Apex Predators taking a 2-0 over Next Level Esports. They move on to the Swiss stage. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the stream tonight, giving Golden Gad a warm welcome on his debut here on the Salt Mine. It was a fantastic stream. Shout out Ice Fire Ride on production as well for tonight. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.